guyanarra nuyasa dika butta chufa jarsa jarti chufa campaign doctor kenna nuyasa Mandera Westi bamna campaign doctor kenna nuyasa Mandera Westi bamna Tabarchu ujumbe yadate ambergate sangu tabarchu ujumbe yadate nuyasa dikabuta chufa jarsa jarta chufa campaign doctor kenna nuyasa Mandera Westi bamna campaign doctor kenna nuyasa Mandera Westi bamna
sintin tol jiratihin Governor Faisal, Senator Mahmoud Mohamed, Sultana Baile, chairman wetu mkuu wa Kuranyoa, national chairman, maugasi ya Furkesha yote, salamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Madada zetu wa vijana wetu, salamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Mutanikubalia kidogo niongee lugha ya Kiingereza kwa vile manifesto usually inakuanga mzuri kwa lugha ya Kiingereza. Hiyo ndio lugha ambayo tumefunzwa nayo kuandika. Ama mnataka nifanye Kiswahili? Naweza kujaribu Kiswahili pia, lakini mimi siko kama mtu ya coast. Siko coastarian kama Governor Faisal. Kwanza kabisa nataka kushukuru Mwenyezi Mungu ambaye alitupatia fursa ya kukutana leo na watu wetu wote. Najua kuna watu wetu wametoka kutoka mbali, kuna wale wametoka Moyale, kuna wale wametoka Mombasa, kuna wale wametoka Mandera, kuna wale wametoka Takaba, na kuna wale ambao wametoka mahali mbali. Tunashukuru sana, mimi mwenyewe binafsi nashukuru sana kwa vile nimeita watu wetu na watu wetu wameniitikia. Asanteni sana. Ya pili, vile mnavyojua ni wakati ambao watu wanauza sera zao, na wakati wa sera lazima mtu ajulikanwe ni nani, ndio anatafuta jukumu gani, alafu baadaye watu waweke mizani, wajue kwamba mtu fulani ndio ataweza kutulinda, ataweza kutuongoza na ataweza kushughulikia wananchi. Mimi in 1974, a young man was born 9 kilometers away from Takaba town, a place by the name Aburui. I know those who are indigenous Takaba know that location is around 9 kilometers from there. To a pastoralist mom who was carrying a water harvesting bute mahalla hand carrying in her back. My mother, Allah rahma, she is left while she was pregnant, left Aburgui, walked to 9 kilometers to Takaba to go and fetch water. My mom then, while she was carrying the water, and of course me in her womb, got labor pain. And actually this man you see here today was born under an acacia tree just before we reached our pastoralist home. It is not very easy for someone who has never had a very good obstetric care, who have not had, who have not been delivered in a well-established hospital, to reach this level. So I thank God, and I thank our people and the parent who have given us, given birth to us, and may their soul rest in Jannatul Firdaus. Secondly, I started my journey of education at Takaba Primary. I left there When my parent left that particular area, I was moved to a school called Bute Nomadic when the nomad schools were open. The only three, one in Balambala in Garissa, the other one in Ramo, and the other one was in Bute, and that's how I ended up in a boarding school. Until I completed my primary school, I have not seen my parents because we couldn't trace them when schools are closed. So we lived with relatives who were very grateful and kind and who kept us well. Then I went to the medical field and now acquired a PhD in mental health. So in the field of mental health in several universities. As you know very well, I have worked with Ministry of Health, Kenya, as a district medical officer at different locations. I also worked as program heads at the National AIDS Control Program. Later, I joined WHO for some times, and then later joined International Fraternity in the humanitarian world. Until then is when I have joined politics. I have been in senior position in the humanitarian fraternity. Now time comes, you know, when you reflect back and go to many countries, you will find several things that happen in the world. I've gone to around 18 countries and worked there, but in every country I have gone, there are many things I have seen. Above all, I have been looking at issues related to development and the livelihood of communities around the world. When I went back and reflected back to my rural home, for the period before the devolution government. Reason being, during the devolution government, a lot of resources have been pumped there, and we felt it was necessary for these resources to reflect the livelihood of our people in Mandera, particularly the constituency that we are talking about, that where our people have been living for the past 1 century. You know very well, water is basic need. We know very well it is life. Without water is no longer alive. You know, when you have clean water, diseases and other things are reduced. You know, when there are clean water, children feed very well and livelihood occurs and a lot of things happen. Unfortunately, every year we have to establish a water tracking system to save the livelihood of our people so that they can get water for their basic needs. This is really unfortunate and indeed something that needed to be looked into by the previous leaders. So what am I trying to highlight? What I'm trying to highlight is that you know very well, if the basic needs of your people have not been finalized, then indeed you're going to realize that a number of issues will happen. You cannot actually have children in education, you cannot run education, you can't take children to school simply because lack of water will still have to address the same issue. You know very well, there are quite a number of things that has been addressed in terms of basic needs. But when you look at what is happening on the ground, you will realize that actually it was better when we were in 1963 in Takaba than today, because pollution has occurred, erosion has occurred. By then there were even natural resources, now they are no longer there, and there was no resources that have been replenished by the leadership of the people who have been leading this place. I know there are a number of issues in terms of leadership that has been put into question with our elders and our leaders. What is it? Our elders always thought of that if the person is an elderly person, if the person is respected in the society, then of course they will decide on a leader, but now sometimes they don't get the right leader. We know we have elected someone in 2017. You know how effective he was in terms of your judgments. You as a community, you know. And the reason is that sometimes we may blame people, but the fact remains that it is the capacity of the individual to determine what exactly this person can do, not being given a leadership and then taking the role as a leader. So one thing that I want to bring as a change is that I'm going to look into, in conjunction with the national government, ensure that a sustainable water source is established. I know there are quite a number of water coming from the hills of Ethiopia, and always going through Takaba streams, and yet we never harvested it. If I give you an example, did you guys know that actually camels are currently domesticated and zero grazing in some other countries, including Mogadishu? There are 300 camels in one farm, and they don't move out of that farm. And the productivity of those camels are usually massive. And Somalia currently is exporting milk to Middle East based because of that particular arrangement they have done. Secondly, you know very well, our people have been pastoralists. You know they cannot take their children to school and sustain them in settlement. There's a number of challenges that people have been doing with the Constituency Development Fund. I think it is time to think through. It's not about constructing a classroom in every village. It is to establish a state-of-the-art school within the town with proper security, and then provide all scholastic materials as well as quality teachers, and of course provide security for those teachers. One of the things that makes quality education is availability of proper infrastructure, not infrastructure built in the rural home, then with no teacher, with no scholastic materials, then it ends up doing nothing other than erecting buildings that are occupied by either the donkeys on the ground there, or butterflies which lives there inside there. So there are a number of things that we will come up with in terms of changing the face of education in our constituency. Definitely, CDF alone will not going to do that, but we're going to embark with the national government, going to look for look for resources from all funding agencies, and make sure that we're going to make change on that particular sector. Finally, I will want to, Senator, I want to promise our people in the event that I'm given this opportunity that we will going to bring our people together and make sure that the way that we are divided now will no longer exist. We will use all the resources available to make sure that we have unity in our people. That is the primary thing that we must always think of. The other thing that I would like to bring to your attention, I'm sure with the help of Senator, we're going to struggle at the national level once we succeed, both of us, is road network. You know Moyale? Up to Moyale there is a tarmac, a high standard tarmac. But access to Moyale Takaba is around 170 kilometers. And indeed, if we clear that way and get tarmac road, Takaba will be another heaven like Moyale. You know how changes have occurred when Moyale has been tarmacked. It has been open to the whole world. Finally, politics always says we must build systems. We must build leadership from top to bottom. We know very well we have joined as we build the government. We have talked about as the constituency, parliamentary seat. As we talk about the MCS, we know very well currently there is Azimio, and the father of Azimio, the captain of Azimio, is none other than Baba Raila Amolo Odinga. We have agreed to make sure that as Mandera people, we're going to vote him in with flag bearer Moses. I know very well the team that have combined to bring that seat. We're going to also bring for him significant votes from the county. If not all the votes, perhaps I guess 80% of the votes from Mandera County. Definitely, if I go narrow it down into the constituency, 100% of Mandera West constituency, we're going to also elect Baba Raila Amolo Odinga. Finally, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all our elders and leaders who have given me this opportunity, this colorful event today. I know our people have gone for prayers, but they are hearing our speech. And of course it will be online, and all of them will going to be revisiting the online platform. Mine is only one. Mine is only one, Bana Senator. We have spoken. Gosticho Yadubat, Tolki Kecho Farma Yadubat, Nuichof Nanu Gomsu Felinju, Nuichof Gostenta Watochufena, Laften Sumila Fachufena, Isadium Big Dani Nam Kiti Kangabusu Dandau, Ilale Mufundowini, Gosten Walinu Habada Gubaki Yale, Namdansa Anjala, Mamuto Walingatojane, Urbaki na Sabinado, Narado, Wana Nakase Lufi. Sababti anakase rufi gostila moja isi zaidi wal khamsate obrezguda dabati ka begda dubisa na miga dindebisi maleni guruba fi akasi namsi dabatu jirno ya arsikena dindida kena gal kudalisha tamam de mujirna barka nulle garab ki fena akana kan gaf kan siye ka ni mugutano te tanke jin kaniye gurba sabla kaya soja ini uji gadar kecai uji sungguh saga khabir ka yo ini garel gachu pedan ar kecai undan dawa chula sunda khigoro achi gosachi waga khabadi fo yechu dan dawa ana yasiti madiat alamale yasigar si se wagudo yunata gante baba ke na sikarada gurbaki narado tasedeso dibi kutajiru Dila moja walt la kisanka dila maru dali yerini dikena zaid chamuka wan waliyenu kanoja sira dawa degen kan Hassan ayedani dena ansulle ledu yo kiti kan atin se gostin se hatu aga gurbaki ga buzu dan dawlaki yo atin se gurbaki ga buzu dan da yete nakoti alen hafa lakini dan sumti gosa dan sumti gosa aga nabi waga tarki dandau ka waga busu dandau ka gostile chof arbu jirtu wa garke khalifi ke kandi bi ka to foto gindile bado ga kaujin bado strong na taini ata waqti ka kiamata niti boro jati strong ga tat sikenina markan kan am ya jibijkan am ya labayedin kana tamata na gani chube da nakten sultan ki fa wanjetu beda gali beda orodu majedan korma duga ke jira beda lakin waqti bokkeni robe korme da nidi waqti bokkoni re ka chufti sane ko kan beda marka yo chufti sane ko kan tagari ke sabasali to challa changwata akas yani tandi bile yani hori kan rimsu nan de dimbaran lakin ka ire qorti lalatani wasidi den ta furkeshati sultani jte yarske ga dilbna hamada ha na do gurbaki mwisho aga ni sultanki shirki kan hida aga sultanki yamini yarske to nagafa dan aga ni microphone aja pasme haja pas yarske to microphone kenna ye aga sultanki ni ugaski eso challa sakarate kabtoji haja pas ako abi bes inshallah yo haja pas la kesi jirne anin tita misho yo rabbi e wigi gadem kan ni chof wa yawo jirna la fa yawo jirna constituency offices yawo jirna nomination papers achiga kudachuke senator naye ataenda Mandera marka MPs talibinde generali fi wanikandi bichuf wataenda ile mahali iko constituency office yao ndio waende wachukue nomination papers. Hizo nomination papers ndio mwanzo wa election process. Ile nyingine tulikuwa tunafanya zote ilikuwa ni mchezo. Hiyo sasa tuna deal na ile referee ambaye watakagua wale wataminyana huko kwa kiwanja. Na hizo makaratasi ndio tutaenda kuchukua, tunajaza, na hiyo makaratasi inatakiwa tupeleke hizo ofisi tena, the same office, tarehe 29 ama 28 roughly 28 tarehe 28 tena kwa hizo maofisi, na sisi ndio tutakubaliwa wakati hiyo kufanya campaign yetu. Campaign officially kicks off on 28th May na inaisha on 6th August. ya pili, watu ya IEBC wakichukua hiyo nomination papers, hao wataenda kupublish sasa ballot papers zikiwa na mapictures zetu. So naona watu wetu wengi wanatuuliza kwa nini hatufanyi campaign na campaign watu wengine wanapiga. Kwa kweli kwamba ile constitution ilikuwa imebadilishwa, ile election amendment ilikuwa imetengenezwa, ilikuwa imekuja na sheria nyingi. Sheria ya moja ambayo ilikuwa imekuja naye, candidates wanatakiwa wangoje mpaka official campaign date. Ukianza kufanya sahihi unaweza kuepuka naye, lakini ile shida itakuja kama opponent yako akupeleke kotini aseme wewe umeviolate election rules, wewe utadisqualifyiwa. So that is why unaona watu ya wanasiasa wamenyamaza, wametulia na hawataki kupiga debe nje. Hiyo debe watapiga tu wakati watapigiwa firimbi. So ajili ya hiyo hatutakuwa na mafirimbi nyingi, hata tukienda huko tutaongea tu na watu yetu, lakini ile mambo ya kupiga marallies sahihi hatuwezi kubaliwa kwa ajili ya hiyo sheria ambayo ilifanywa. Ya mwisho, I will not want to take the offers and the will ambayo nilipatiwa na watu yetu ambayo wameamua kabla hata hatujamaliza kuongea, wakasema sisi tutakuchukua na tumekuchukua. Na shukuru hawa, asanteni sana. Toljiratihin tolo maaritilega maarum karimway wa mahsintihin ilaahay idin barina anagana ilaahay iso bariya anti oo waxay idinteen ina lagu ceeboyin anagana leeyuma ceebaa insha Allah.